Okay, so as promised, this will be the analysis of the Ron Carter bass line from the Jamie Aebersold play along of Ornithology. It's a really cool bass line. It's one of the first bass lines that I memorized of Ron Carter in the bebop genre, and I found it very helpful to increase my playing over fast chord changes when I was first starting out doing the whole bebop thing. And I think that this is worthwhile to have a thorough analysis of it for constructing bass lines on your own. Hopefully you'll not just memorize these things, you'll take them and internalize them and practice them in all different keys and really be able to make a lot of use out of even just learning one bass line very well. So let's get started. For those of you who don't have the chord progression for Ornithology, it's the same as How High the Moon. You should really get a fake book. There's really not any substitute to getting a fake book, whether or not it's electronic and a application like iRealB or iPro, or you can still get and order those things online, like the Hal Leonard volume fake books are something like $30 on Amazon, and those are really nice to have too, especially sometimes if you're doing gigs where there's going to be glare. Anyway, so the first four measures have the chords of G major 7 for the first two measures, followed by G minor 7 to C7, and the G minor to the C7 kind of form a 2-5 of F major, which will come up in measure number 5. So he starts off on the root playing G. Really a safe way to go. A lot of bassists sometimes get kind of drawn into having other things starting a measure other than the roots, and there's really not a whole lot of need to do that. That's mainly to kind of keep interest for yourself. I think that most players that you're playing with or people in the audience probably would prefer bassists playing roots maybe 90% of the time. There's actually an example in here in a few spots where he doesn't play the roots when he's playing measures that are vamping for more than one measure, chords that are lasting for 2 measures. Anyway, let's take a look. So we have G, the root of the chord of G major, followed by B, the third of the chord. Then he pushes chromatically upward with C and C sharp, going to the downbeat of the following measure where he plays D, which is the 5th of the chord. So it gets this nice line going from root, 5th, and then from there he pushes up to the root again, playing the 6th, the flat 7, and then the major 7 up to the octave again. So the first two measures are G, B, C, C sharp, D, G, F, F sharp, G. And then on measure number 3, he plays G, A, B flat, A, followed by measure number 4, G, B, C, E. And then E will get us ready for that F major chord that's happening in measure number 5. So if we play the first 4 measures together, we've got G, B, C, C sharp, D, E, F, F sharp, G, A, B flat, A, G, B, C, E, F, landing on measure number 5. So let's talk a little bit about why he chose all of these notes. We already talked about measures 1 and 2, where he has the root happening on the downbeat of the first measure, followed by the 5th on the downbeat of the second measure. And then in the third measure, he's got on beat number 1, G again, which is the root of the G minor chord. And then on beat number 3, he plays that B flat, and he's using that A as just a kind of passing tone between G and B flat, where it goes G, A, B flat, A. And then in measure number 4, he breaks it up and plays the 5th of the C chord, which is probably the next common thing. If you're not going to play the root of a chord, you would probably play the 5th of the chord. And in this case, it was just a nice continuation of the line to have it fall back by step rather than jumping by leap to the root of the C chord. So then he was on G, and then on beat number 2, which is the weak beats, beats 2 and 4, or the weak beats in jazz, and you can very often play more chromatic tones or tones that might have more tension in them on those things. If your beats 1 and 3 are strong and harmonic, your beats 2 and 4 can very often be kind of passing tones, and it won't really obscure your line too much. So beat number 4, or measure number 4, sorry, he played G, followed by B, which was chromatically leading C, which is the root of the chord, and then he was playing E, which gets us ready for the F, which happens to be the third of the C7 chord. So we've got and then he's on F major 7 for the next two measures, measures 5 and 6, followed by F minor 7 for measure 7, followed by B flat 7 for measure 8. So let's take a look at what he does there. He plays the root of the F major chord here, followed by the third on open A, followed by the sixth, which he's probably using because he's on upright and needed to facilitate a position shift, and then chromatically leading into the fifth of the chord by using B, and then playing C on the downbeat of measure 6, up to D, up to E flat, and E, going up to F. It's kind of like a common thing of having F, 2, 3, 4, then C, 2, 3, 4, and that C being the fifth of the F major chord. So F minor is what he plays next, where he plays root, second, third, fourth, leading up to B flat. And that's a very common thing to have. You can do that on minor chords, you can do that on major chords. Sometimes dominant 7 chords is actually nice to try a few other things, but we'll keep it relevant to what's in front of us. We've got a lot of chords left. So we have F, going to A, which is a third of the chord, going up to the sixth of the chord, going to a chromatic lead into the fifth of the chord, B, going up to C for the second bar of F major 7, up to D, E flat, E, then F minor, F, G, A flat, A, and then for the B flat 7 it starts on B flat, going to the seventh of the chord, A flat, A chromatically leading back up to B flat, and then he jumps to the root of the next chord, which is E flat, and most fake books would have this as E flat 7. Occasionally it's written as E flat major 7. Doesn't really have a whole lot of difference here. That would be something that a pianist would have to worry about how to comp, but like we said, a lot of times you'll be using those chromatic lines to push into the root of the chord anyway, so you may or may not be playing a flat 7 or a major 7, and that's where the bebop scale comes in, of where it has both the minor and the major 7 to kind of facilitate those chromatic lines that happens in jazz at very up tempos. Anyway, so we're on E flat 7, whatever it is, going up to G, going up to B flat, which is the fifth of the chord, going down to the fourth of the chord, and what he's doing here is he's surrounding that root of the next chord, which is going to be A half diminished, by going root of the E flat chord, third, fifth, and then chromatically leading to that A half diminished chord. So we kind of surrounded that A on both sides of it. And then he very nicely just does some octaves here, where he goes A, and then for the D7 coming up, he goes root, fifth, which is D, A. So let's see that whole section again. We got F, F minor, B flat 7, E flat 7, A half diminished, D7, and then from there he goes G, and he's doing root, second, root, chromatically leading to a D7, where he goes D, and then, let's see, F sharp, A sharp, and then to the next four chords, which is 3, 6, 2, 5 in the key, which is going to be B minor, E7, A minor, D7, going B, E7, A, like that. This is going to be a little bit of a long video. I can add the second part to it maybe next week, so that gets you through the first 16 measures of Ornithology. Once again, we've got G major 7, G minor 7, C7, F major 7, F minor 7, B flat 7, E flat 7, A half diminished D7, G major 7, D7, B minor 7, E7, A minor 7, A minor 7, D7, back to G, and the next 16 bars continues there from G going up to